Politicz.
Yo, welcome back to Neighborhood Politicz. I am Mrs. Neighborhood Politicz.
And I'm Mr. Neighborhood Politicz.
Bro, so I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I'm a little nervous.
Why you nervous?
I don't know. It just feel like something new. It feel like something...
Being birthed?
Yes. And I just feel like I'm like nervous because like this is like what we do, but now on a different type level.
Okay.
First off, before we get started and going, do y'all see something?
Nice little collab, looking good.
Y'all, we literally just, well, by the time y'all see this, we'd have been dropped our,
Hey, come on.
Long story short and short story long. So now I'm playing. No, for real. We would have dropped this by now, right?
Yeah.
Don't try to speed this with, don't try to speed this up. Y'all, we got our Neighborhood Politicz shirts designed, created, and we are super excited about it. Like,
for sure.
Like, just look at it.
Yeah.
The
embroidery, our
tags in the back, and then we also got a design on the back. So
check us out.
Yes. You can't just be doing that. You got to talk about it like it's here.
Yeah.
I don't get the energy. Like you keep trying to be too serious. Like
you
can't do that.
Business,
like this is a big deal. We literally dropping our first t-shirts.
Yeah.
Our first apparel on our line. Like and you acting like we ain't like we whatever. But yeah, so that's what's new. We're working on our website. And then we also are bringing something new to y'all. And this is called, it's a segment that we're going to do. And I think it's pretty dope because I'm actually excited that we get to do this together. Because I've always wanted to like have Bible study / talk God, which we do on a regular, but like, I feel like this is like the birth of something new.
Yeah.
But this segment is going to be called Neighborhood Discipleship. Neighborhood Discipleship. So, would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, just neighborhood discipleship, as you said, something that we want to come together and, I think it's, it's imperative, to have these conversations on camera to, bring enlightenment to, our people. Oftentimes we find ourselves in places, even we speak on conversations often on our podcast about, how powerful the Lord is and what he's done for us in our lives. And I think it's just, it'd be pretty dope to help, teach what we know, how we know, how we know it, in an imperfect way, to try to, bring nigastry to ministry.
Oh my God. I knew he was going to do that.
Yeah.
So really quick, like, to be clear, like, and that's what I'm grateful for because we get to be on camera and say that we don't know it all. We get to be on camera and be true and authentic with our interpretations of some of the things that we have read in the Bible and some of the things that we discussed. And I think that blesses me most because I don't feel like there's no pressure. Like I don't have to know it all. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that now. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm just walking out what I know in real time. And so is Q. So I'm just grateful that we get the opportunity to be able to just really tap into who God created us to be. And to spread his word and just to inform and to educate and to politic with our people. So I'm happy about that.
And do it the way we know how to do it. Because again, like we said, we are imperfect. And, we ain't here to preach nothing. We ain't here to, sell nothing. We just here to be ourselves, our authentic selves. And, in hopes of, spreading the message the best way we know how.
Yeah. So once again, this is called Neighborhood Discipleship. And why did you call it Neighborhood Discipleship?
Because it's about, what we call it, a segment off of neighborhood politics. And then, the importance of, being a disciple and what that looks like. And, I guess, we consider ourselves disciples in our walk. So, I thought it was only right to, throw a remix in there and call it Neighborhood Discipleship.
Yeah. So we already prayed before this episode started. So we can pray again just to open up the word.
Okay.
Yeah, we breaking bread. Everybody
Go
break
ahead.
bread, you know, break bread,
Go ahead.
right? No? Okay. So, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, for those who are listening, Lord, even for ourselves, Lord, we just pray that the Holy Spirit just flow and do what he does best, Lord. We pray that for revelation, Lord, understanding, and to just truly, truly be able to soak and immerse in your word, Lord. So we welcome you and we invite you, Lord. We just ask for a clear mind, clean heart, and an open heart just to be able to receive. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So we gonna start from just the basics. Like, this one is about discipleship, true discipleship, like the beginning. What is discipleship? And then going into the things of discipleship. I know I said that 20 times, but still.
Mm-hmm.
So what is discipleship to you?
Walking within your purpose, I would say, and following the Lord in this case of walking in his light. It's hard, because in this life that we live in, you hear the word disciple, and it's like, I gotta live this perfect life, and I think it's important for us to share, like, that's not really the case, but yes, walking within being intentional, walking while being intentional, while also doing the Lord's work, I would consider that discipleship.
Okay, so I was thinking of this, and it's the same thing, because like discipleship and following Christ, what's the difference between the two? Because you could be a follower of Christ, but a disciple is different.
So I mean, when what rings in my head is, being again intentional. Again, in both cases, I think it's very, it's probably a thin line of what separates the two. But when you a disciple, you walk in that journey. You walk in that walk, and you doing what your purpose is as an individual to help, bring people to the Lord and do his works.
Okay, yeah, because
thick and thin.
Because I was thinking, like, we watched The Chosen, y'all. We love The Chosen. We are for sure advocates for The Chosen because it brings like the Bible to life. And I think about like Mary, and then I think about Jesus' disciples, and she wasn't considered a disciple, but she was a follower of Jesus, like, a follower of God or whatever. And so when I think of discipleship, I know that you can be a follower of Christ, which means that you believe in God and that you love God, and that's your true belief. But a disciple to me is somebody that's actually putting in the work and going through all the things that Jesus needs us to go through in order to bring people closer to God, because the difference to me between just following God and actually walking with God, because you can, like they say all the time, you could be a Christian and you can, read your word and whatever and just be okay with just doing that. But then a disciple is the person that really is getting down to the nitty gritty and putting in the work, in hood terms, know what I'm saying?
And I don't know, again, I don't know, in that time, what if it was only just the 12 disciples? But I would say, from my readings and my understanding of Mary, in this day and age, I would definitely still consider her a disciple. I think Jesus, he picked his 12, right? So he had his 12 disciples. And yeah, as you said, that Mary was a close follower. She was trooping right with him. And I think honestly, she had all the characteristics and traits to, consider herself a disciple. So, I think in that time, yeah, she wasn't considered that, as you said, but for the sake of, what we speaking on, she definitely, was a road dog.
Yeah, I like Mary. And just her being in the right places at the right time. Even when, Jesus with the whole tombstone thing, and her just being one of the first people that, he revealed himself to, like, that was dope to me. And it was a woman. It wasn't a man. It was her. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knew how much she loved him. And then also too, she was about to go clean. She was about to go take care of him. And then she came and he was gone.
Yeah.
And like when she turned around, or however that played out, this is just, like I said, paraphrasing, but when he revealed himself to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just saying, I know it's the difference between following and discipling. And I feel like discipling is somebody who's really, and I'm not saying Mary didn't, but I feel like the disciples had a responsibility and like a weight on them that, not like a weight, but like a different type of.
Yeah, for sure. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's clear.
Yeah. So we said we was going to discuss Matthew. We was going to discuss Judas and Simon.
Right. Yeah.
So where would you like to start first? And who out of the three can you relate to the most? Simon, Peter, or Judas?
I mean, I think first, to kind of go back a little bit.
Okay.
It's, as we said, it's 12 disciples, and all of them. And I think it would be dope, as we, go along with further episodes to kind of, touch on all of them. But today, the focus was those three. And I think it's pretty, because all three have complete different personalities, walks, stories. So I think touching on these three was, pretty, dope to, I guess, start off with. So you said Matthew, Simon, aka my boy Peter, and then Judas. I would say, I'm gonna go with Matthew. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna surprise you and go with Matthew. I know you thought I was gonna say somebody, so I'm gonna go with Matthew.
I said between the three. I for sure already knew I was picking Simon.
Okay.
Like I for sure knew I was for sure a Simon picker. Okay. But so who is Matthew, or what was he known as or known to be before following Christ, like becoming a disciple?
So Matthew was a young dude. He was a young he was a young dude trying to find himself. One of the little homies trying to find himself. Really didn't know which route he was wanted to go in life.
Yes.
But was living in the struggle. From my take of it, was living in the struggle. Family came up a certain way. And from my stance on Matthew, what made him special was, and we had these conversations, is, he wanted different.
Yeah.
And I don't think Matthew knew what that looked like, but he was kind of willing. He was at a point in time in his life to where, he wanted to do whatever it took to be accepted. Because Matthew, it seemed as if he really wasn't one to where, if you just was like, oh, let me call up a few of the homies, Matthew was going to be the one that got a phone call. So I think Matthew found himself just, dibbling, dabbling and trying to figure out, okay, where can I be, accepted,
or just to get some type of sense of like importance or security for sure.
Yeah, so
security. I'm sorry.
Yep, and I think that's what so led Matthew to being a tax collector, which in his time was looked down upon because although he was a Jew, right?
Yes.
Although he was a Jew, he was doing the works of what we would call the ops in today's day and age.
No, for sure.
He was doing the works of the ops for the ops. So you got him, collecting people's money. In his community, and they like, bro, you one of us. How you doing that?
You turn your back on us. What you mean? You gonna turn into a whole tax collector? And the reason why you keep seeing me be on my phone is because I'm like looking up stuff as we go. So I don't want to seem like to be rude or anything, but I had to say that disclaimer. But Matthew definitely was one of those people where it's, if we in the hood and we looking back on somebody that we feel like, bro, you the ops, bro, you gonna real life turn against us and then start collecting taxes from us, like, and we know that the Romans is who you like helping, and they over us. Well, not that they, but yeah, like the Romans were not playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, dang, Matthew, you gonna go and be on the other side and become a tax collector. And I think with somebody like Matthew, a lot of people was like cool on him. They didn't really care for him. They was,
for sure.
Yeah, like they was really like, you a disgrace. And even his dad and all them, they was like, bro, what? You really gonna go start collecting taxes and you already know we ain't got it like that? Yeah, but like you said, I think the main thing about Matthew was just him what probably led him to that was him wanting a difference in life.
Right.
And that's the part where I feel like I can relate to, because when you leave off and you try to go do better for yourself, sometimes people despise that. Right. And they look at you like, oh, you sold your soul, or you did this or you did that. It was like, some people just feel like they just trying to make a better living.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, as you said, so in Matthew's case, I think that's what was going on. He wanted change, and didn't know how to kind of come about that change. So just imagine. I'm just gonna say, imagine you going off to school and you been in a certain environment your entire life, and you got your normal friends, your community, your family, and you being that one to where it's like, what, I want to try to kind of do something different. And then because you do so, you kind of get looked down upon. Doesn't mean that your heart was in the wrong spot. It's just you decided to go do something different, and because of that, you get looked down upon. So I really took heed, and Matthew put in a lot of, he was a hard worker. And that's the funny thing. Although, whatever the case may be, he was a hard worker. When Jesus pulled him, he took whatever role that was supposed to be his, and, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that because, with him being, like, with him working for the Romans, I'm pretty sure, I'm just guessing, I'm pretty sure the Romans wouldn't have just picked anybody who wasn't really good at what they do, because they would want their money. You get what I'm saying? So like they said, they consider him a traitor because what? But I know that they want to pick somebody who they didn't feel like was capable of the job. So we know that Matthew definitely was capable of the job. So I got a thing. Do you think Matthew's thoughts were when he left tax collecting and going with Jesus?
What do I think his thoughts were?
Yeah, like what encouraged him or just made him decide to want to do that? And y'all, you could find this like that's why I'm looking up on my thing. But Matthew's occupation and all the things and what they felt about him being a traitor and stuff in Matthew 9, chapter 9, verse 9. But then also now we're talking about the call to discipleship for Matthew. Like, what you think his thought process was?
Man, so one, I think it was a reason on why, Jesus called for Matthew to, join and be a disciple. And I think, he always knew where Matthew's heart was at. So I think being called to, walk that journey, he was back in a moment of greatness, of, I don't know what this is going to look like, but something about my heart is telling me to go ahead and, put this down, because I know I'm kind of doing the wrong thing. Don't mean I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not sitting here taking this money and doing it out of, joy. But, I think Jesus calling him to be a disciple, I think he was back in that gray area, but I think because his heart was always in the right spot, I think that's what led to him being confident and knowing like this is probably the direction that I should be going.
Yeah. And then I think when you live a life that, like you said, is not really glorifying God, or it's not bringing you any joy or any peace, it's like when you get that call, it's like, I'm gonna take it. And I want peace. I want joy. I want to feel fulfilled, because Matthew had all he need. Well, as far as what we think in a world standpoint, like especially from watching The Chosen, like he had a nice house. He had all the things that would have made him feel, comfortable to stay where he was at, but it wasn't fulfilling for him. It made him feel like he going every day, collected taxes, but he wasn't happy, or he didn't feel no true peace about it. You know what I'm saying? He was like,
hear it out. You gotta, think about it. You in a situation to where you kind of know you doing wrong, right? And so knowing that although you sitting here working with, we're gonna say the ops, that they don't respect you.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So
like
they don't respect you.
Yeah.
And then you see that you kind of that you also making your people unhappy too.
Yeah.
But individually, you just trying to do what you just feel like is okay, or to find that acceptance that we was talking about.
Yeah.
So he going home every single night unhappy because you still opening the door to your mom and dad's your mom and dad's crib, and they furious that you taking their money and family, and then here you are not getting respected by the people you working for as well.
Yeah. What do you do in that type of situation though? Like, you know what I'm saying? Your life ain't all cracked up to what it seemed to be. Everybody hates you. Where you go? What do you do?
Shoot, you do what Matthew did.
What do you do? Go follow Jesus?
He went to go follow Jesus.
He said, I'm about to go somewhere where, And what's crazy is if you go to Matthew 9, I'm going to just read what happened really quick, because what I love about Jesus is what needs to be pointed out. When he picked his disciples, he didn't pick perfect disciples.
Right.
He picked imperfect people who he felt like, right, you need to be with me. And this is kind of going to Matthew. So Matthew chapter 9, verse 9, it says, as Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector booth. Follow me, he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. it ain't say he gave him no drawback, no nothing. It's like, that's how you know Matthew was just like, it is what it is. Like, I'm out of here.
No, for sure.
And then it say verse 10, while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? Like,
yeah.
The Pharisees, let's just touch on them real quick. The Pharisees, I want to call them haters.
Yeah.
True haters. True haters.
You know, we all got them.
Yeah, literally true haters. People who are just totally against the opposite of what you're trying to do when you're trying to get yourself together. They seen Jesus and like, hold on, wait, you eating, but you eating with all these sinners and this tax collector? What's up with you? You know what I'm saying? But I thought that was funny because it's like, you sitting here eating with people who you know you ain't supposed to be kicking with. Yeah,
but again, I think that's the dope part about the whole situation because, you know, in life, oftentimes we think that, you know, we got to be a certain way, you know, to be accepted by Jesus or to walk in his light, or to, you know, be able to say that we are a follower. And I think, you know, we know that Jesus was very, intentional. We're gonna use that word again with the people that he chose and the decisions that he made. So, you know, sitting at that table with the, you know, tax collectors and sinners, I think that's important. You know, that's something very key that you know, we don't need to overlook because he chose to do that to let people know, like, yeah, man, I'm accepting of everybody. You know, you ain't got to be perfect. You ain't got to walk a certain light. I'm accepting of everybody.
I think it shows Jesus' humility too. Like he didn't think he was. Like, he knew he was bigger than the program, but he didn't think he was bigger than the program. Like, he didn't come off like, yeah, I am who I am, and I only want the best. He said, nah, it ain't. And literally, the next verse after that, I shouldn't even close it, but he was just saying, like, when they asked that question, he was like, it ain't the healthy people, it's the sick people who need. Yeah,
and I think Matthew is the perfect person because, again, who is to say he didn't? Who is to say he wasn't aware, as we know he was, of the other people's at the table's heart posture as well? Like, bro, you know, I can't sit here and judge you for your job, you know what I'm saying, or the circumstances that you put in. As long as I know where your heart posture is at, that's all that matters. Now, if your heart posture ain't right, then you know, it ain't much I can do about you. But, you know, if your heart posture is in the correct spot, then, you know, we can make something roll.
Yeah, it's all about where your heart is at. So you feel like Matthew's heart was in the right place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I mean, when he took Matthew on, he gave Matthew one of the biggest jobs he could give somebody. Yeah, which is record all my teachings, record my interactions, like really jot down and make sure that you document what I'm doing. And it's for somebody that has to tell you the level of gifting that Matthew had. And like, even with Jesus, like, you trust him to make sure that he's taking care of business like this. Like, all your teachings, all the things that he could get, you allowing Matthew to be the one to do that. You know what I'm saying? I think that was beautiful. But I relate a little bit more to Simon and also, like you said, Peter, known as Peter, before his name is Peter after it got changed or whatever. And I think mostly when we was watching The Chosen, like, as far as the visual of it all, Simon was a leader. You could tell that he was very loving, very caring, but was very stern and stood on business. And I like that about him because he was very much so like the person who was making sure everything was in order and making sure that Jesus was well taken care of, and, you know, taking the orders and actually giving orders as well. One of the things that I relate to with him that I'm not so proud about was sometimes the pride that he had, and the things that he struggled with in that area. You know, sometimes questioning God, like, you know, why you allow these certain things to happen and not having the faith that he should have at certain times, you know, like you said, even with the walking on the water, the last episode we was talking about, like, when he asked him, he said, like, you know, when they thought they saw a ghost, he was like, you know, if this is you, allow me to walk on this water.
Hold on, let's get back, because you know, you getting ahead of time.
I'm sorry.
You getting ahead of time. Who is Simon? Who is Simon?
He was a fisherman.
Okay.
He was a fisherman, and let me see who, I don't know if it was son, I don't know his dad name, but pretty much he was a fisherman. And he had his brother name was Andrew. Right. And he was fishing, him and Andrew, they was trying to, well, in The Chosen, they broke it down a little different, but I'm gonna just say, like, Chosen / Bible, but, like, he was a fisherman, and in Chosen he was trying to get the money to take care, like, to pay back the Romans, I think. But technically, when he was out there, he was trying to get fish, but they could not pull up anything.
Mhm.
They could not pull up anything. They were out there for all night. So like I said, the visual of it on the Chosen, it was out there all night trying to fish, and they was pulling up the net, and no fish was coming. And then Jesus, you know, they had a encounter with Jesus, and he told them, like, you know, pretty much, if you follow me, like, well, he allowed him to, he said, put the fish in and put the net in the fish, put the net in the water. Now pull it up. They pull it up, and they had so much fish. And then Jesus was like, pretty much, if you follow me, I will make you fisher over many men.
Yeah. Did he? I don't know. I'm curious. Did he tell him to put it on the other side,
I think so.
or the other side of the boat, or something like that, or another placement of the? I don't know. Another placement of the.
It
net?
was a strategic, for sure,
Right.
type thing. Like, you know, nah, go ahead and put it back in there. And he gave them specific directions, and they followed it. And once they followed it, they picked up the net, and they had a bunch of fish in there.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus was, I think, in that interaction, Jesus was letting them know, like, without me, can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can. So put that net in there. Oh, I'm gonna provide. I think it was showing provision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was showing like God's sovereignty and provision. What else I think it was showing? And just trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, go ahead, put it in there. Put it in there.
I think what's dope is and what's cool, because it's you actually just said I didn't catch on to it until I was doing my little studying, you know. But you know, again, he's clever, man. Dog is he's a clever one.
Oh, Jesus, or
yeah.
why you say that?
You know, the fact that I take a fisher, man, and then he's one of the first disciples that I call, and his job is to be a fisher of men, you know. So, you know, I'm saying, man, this dude is clever. You know, he got he got a personality to him to where he going, you know, he sees, he's already ahead of the game.
So what we see here is God, well, Jesus, you know, and God, but Jesus seeing their gifting, and like, he's like, okay, you using it for the wrong thing, but if you follow me, you can, the same gifting that you, but it's on a spiritual standpoint.
Yep.
On a spiritual standpoint, like, you a fisher over the physical is being a fisherman, but then a spiritual saying, you'll be fisher over many men. You will go out and you will fish, and you will, you know, make disciples, and you would follow me, and you would grab people and gain them and welcome them into, you know, relationship with God, you know. So like you said, he pretty funny for that, but yeah. I
mean, because real quick, that's dope, because it's like already within the two disciples that we done spoke on, Matthew and Simon, you know, as you said, you know, finding that gift of whatever it is that you have, and then just aligning it in the correct spot or the correct way, and how far that can take you. And because we all have gifts as individuals, I think it's hard sometimes because we are in places of our lives to where it's like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this hard spot. But and because all of them was in that area, you know, as you just said, Simon was in that spot to where it's like, bro, I'm not having no luck fishing. But that was his skill. Like, that was his trade. He knew how to do that. Matthew was in a spot to where he like, bro, pretty much I'm not accepted at the crib, and then I keep coming to work with these dudes, and they keep on, you know what I'm saying, they don't respect me. So he in a great area, but he got a skill at what he do, you know. So it's like, shoot, finding that skill, no matter where you at in life, no matter where you no matter how down bad you may feel like you are, and then just trusting the process, you know, and taking your time at it. Because you know, I think that's important, just being okay with being patient about the process.
Yeah. And like you said, just really using your gifts for the right reasons, like, or what does that look like with God? You know, like, both of them were using their giftings without God, and honestly, with, like we said, with Matthew, him being a tax collector, of course he had to be good with money and all those things, but it was for the wrong side.
Yeah, man, that's why I ain't make it to the league.
What?
That's why I ain't make it to the NBA. See, I knew I should have been.
What? Oh, wait. What? What do that got to do with?
Because, man, I was down bad, and shoot, I was supposed to go to the league, but now I didn't figure that out. I just had the light bulb moment. I was where Simon and Matthew was, and I never took I stayed in that gray area.
So you saying like, oh, Thank you, Holy
I mean,
Spirit.
I wasn't gonna make it to the league. That was just a.
Yeah, but you're saying that you stayed in the gray area. You didn't pick your side, the correct side.
Yeah.
So you just was in the middle. You was like, okay, shoot.
I gave, it's one of the moments to where, once I was like, you know what, man, once the kiddie part of me went away as far as, man, I'm going to make it to the league. Once that went away, I never stayed true to the passion of it. You know what I'm saying? I just stayed the course with it. So that being, okay, I'm going to go to practice, but I ain't really putting my faith into it like I'm supposed to. Ain't no telling where, in all actuality, in all honesty, if I would have continued being the person that I was when I was, 15, 16, that got me to even where I was at as far as being able to go play college basketball. Ain't no telling where, it could have potentially, what it could have did for me. I don't know.
You saying if you would have kept the faith and the passion.
Right. That Matthew and Simon went to go walk with, ain't no telling where, that could have led. I'm just saying, like, giving a visual.
I mean, nah, you right. You totally right. You think along the way you lost that faith and passion. So with that being the case, it caused you to be
I'm just going through the motions. Yeah. I was still blessed and fortunate enough to still be able to go play college basketball, but I'm just going through the motions with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm at that spot to where Simon just fishing to fish, really. I'm just doing it to get through it. I'm with Matthew. I'm that person to where I'm just taking these taxes to take them, but I ain't got the faith aspect really behind it, So just a little visual.
So you said that you was in the gray area. My question to you is, whenever you're becoming a follower, a disciple of God, is there a such thing as like a gray area? Like, do you have to be black or white? Or
man, that's a great question, because the disciples had gray areas. They had moments of, even though I'm one of your 12 disciples, I'm following you. They had moments of that. Again, they weren't perfect. They didn't every single day wake up and be like, okay, this is going to be peaches and cream, and I'm in the happiest spot in life. But they stayed the course and believed, though.
Man, so to go into this, I was just thinking as you were talking about, when I said, do you have to pick a side? You do. When God say, when Jesus said, follow me, you either can say yes or no. And if you decide yes, it's a cost to come with that. And it was a story in the Bible. I don't remember the guy name, or I don't even think they said the guy name, but I know it was a story that it was saying in the Bible. Like, he had the opportunity to follow God, but God was like, follow me, but the guy he didn't want to give up all of his riches and all the things that he had. So he ended up not being able to be a follower of Jesus. And I think he was trying to figure out what can he do to get in heaven or something like that. And God was like, you pretty much, is nothing that this stuff that you got going on cannot get you into heaven. Like the riches, the glory, all of those stuff that you got going on, it ain't gonna get you into heaven. But if stop and follow me. Like he just told him, follow me. He ain't give him no extra, nothing. Just follow me. And dude couldn't give up what he knew prior. And like we just said with Matthew, when I just read Matthew 9, and now when Jesus said, follow me, he put his stuff down and follow him. When he asked with Simon, and Andrew and Simon, like, whatever, they stopped what they was doing and they went. They just went. They ain't have no, well, we don't know. I'm pretty sure they probably had thoughts, but it seemed like they went.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
it was
for
the guy
sure.
who didn't go, who didn't want to throw away.
I think it's very important to let it be known that they went. That choice was made, but I think it's also very clear to let it be known, like, it was rocky. Like, this nigga is crazy. He telling me to go do this, do that, and the third. I'm walking through the most treacherous areas in of mankind that I'm not welcome. I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? My shorty back at the crib. She mad at me. What you gonna do, bruh? I gotta go home to a mad, angry woman.
Wife.
I mean, girlfriend, whatever the case may have been for them. I'm talking, listen, exactly. See, they get perfect.
No, I'm not saying, because I'm just thinking about The Chosen. Remember?
I'm just talking about,
back in their day, they weren't doing recreational.
But we are. That's the difference between us and them. We are. So I got a crazy baby mom at the crib.
Yeah.
That's unhappy, but I keep on leaving because I keep on telling her, hey man,
I gotta go with Jesus.
I gotta go with the homie down the street. He telling me we gotta go You know what I'm saying?
We got to walk all the way to Cleveland.
Yeah. So, I mean, bro, it was extremely rocky, but they stayed and was faithful to through the highs and through the lows.
I mean, you got a point, though, because like you said, it costed a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, I got to go home to this. You know, people's parents was sick, all these different things. And Jesus, you keep telling me to trust you and follow you, but I got this going on at the crib. I got that going on. And I'm coming with you, and I see you showed me that you are a miracle worker. You showed me that you're capable, but yet and still, I got still stuff going on at home. So how am I supposed to follow you with my whole heart and be this disciple that you asking me to be when I still have struggles going on at home? Yeah, that's a real thing. That's a for sure real thing. And I think the whole point of just even with, you know, Matthew and Simon so far that we got to is that following God and becoming a disciple is not easy at all. Because of the cost and because of what you have to give up and because of the lack of understanding, not knowing, having to die to self, having to follow, you know, something that you've never seen or known before. You've heard of it because they all heard about Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth. Like they all heard about God and they knew that he was going to send the Son of Man, another prophet. They already knew this. So when he came and he showed them, I am who I say I am, it was like, oh, okay. It's even more reason to follow you, but how do I get through these tough times as well while following you?
Yeah. And you know, while I see you doing great works for other people, you know what I'm saying?
As a follower.
And so as a follower, I'm one of your disciples. I'm one of your, 12 closest, and I see you doing great things for other people. But in all honesty, in all actuality, we low-key live in the roughest, not probably really, because everybody had their struggles.
Yeah, everybody had their positions too.
But I'm seeing you do works for others, and we kind of still, how you expect for me to go all the way over here, bro, and I don't even know how I'm gonna eat. You know what I'm saying?
And that kind of taps into Judas, because of he was a true disciple of Jesus. He walked with him. He seen him heal. He seen miracles, and he seen all these things. And still his mind was on the money aspect of it. Because he was gifted in that area.
Yeah. So, but it's funny because, and you spoke on The Chosen a few times. You said it a few times. We just gonna speak on the relation. What was the relation like between what was the relationship like between the homies?
Like, from The Chosen,
we gonna say between
Matthew and Simon.
Let's say Matthew and Simon. I mean, amongst all of them, because it was 12. But and you know how it be. You grow up in your neighborhood. We all one. We go out 100 deep.
Yeah.
But then when we pull back up, you got this crew go over here, that crew go over here. These two crews really saying little slick stuff amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? But so what was the relationship like between the disciples?
I would say it was cool. Like it went in like the best, but it wasn't the worst because they all had the same burning desire, which was to follow Jesus. Did they all get along? No, they didn't. Like, especially on The Chosen, Simon wasn't feeling Matthew. Because Matthew was a tax collector and he turned on his own people. So Simon and Matthew weren't really actually seeing eye to eye. And it was a bunch of different disciples that was having different issues, especially like when we just brought up Judas, just having those side issues with one another, having those different type of conversations on the outside. But I don't think that it was really like, they were really like, kicking it. I just think they was taking care of business with each other, and they did begin to grow with one another and love on one another and have each other back because of the common interest person and the common desire, which is to serve God and his people. But I don't like anything. I don't like any other group or any other place. I don't think that they were the best.
Yeah,
like the closest.
I mean, and that's kind of why I asked you, because again, we grew up all Bond Hill, right? Bond Hill's finest. We grew up in Bond Hill. You know what I'm saying? We gonna take within Bond Hill, it's all these different types of personalities that really don't click. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it within y'all's 100 people is 12 clicks. So I'm gonna take the top 12 from each clique that has a different personality, and we gonna put them together and we gonna make it work. So yeah, we gonna butt heads, we gonna have issues. But because we all got one goal, we gonna figure out how we can make this work. And again, this is another moment of Jesus being intentional with his works and how he did things. Because you got, as we said, we got Simon, very, a man of man, a man of man is what we would call it. You got Matthew, more reserved, very laid back, passive, probably not really into confrontation. You got Judas, you got just we gonna be speaking on those three. We got just number of them to where they all have different. You got killers. You got
ready to cut off your ear.
Yeah, so and we gonna all put them all together into one crew, and within this crew, we gonna make this strong, powerful movement, and take over the world.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, he definitely had all different walks of life. I think what's discouraging for some people is that they don't really have a relationship with God to where they know his true character. So like we were just talking about, we're kind of reverting back, that some people may feel like, well, I'm a sinner and I do this. Like I had one of my students say like, nah, I ain't get baptized yet because I'm a sinner, so I can't do that right now. And I was like, what do you mean? And I had to tell him, like, do you not know that all the people that Jesus kicked it with was sinners? Like that we are all sinners, that Jesus didn't kick it with the perfect people. Jesus didn't kick it with he actually kicked it with the people that people was like, no, why are you talking to them? The killers, the prostitutes, all the different things, because we know Mary's story. We know that he had to, free her and heal her from being possessed from those demons. And, she was having sex with different men and all the different things. Like Jesus wasn't kicking it with, the perfect person. He was kicking it with the homies for real. He was really in the field, you know what I'm saying? So, and Jesus wasn't telling them something that he wasn't experiencing himself. He wasn't trying to be that person that came around was figuring like he was too good. Nah, he was humble enough to know like, I am my father's son, but at the same time, I'm one of the homies. I grew up with y'all. That's why it was hard for people to believe that he was even Jesus, that he was the son of God. They like, bro, not Jesus from Nazareth, not the one who mom probably stepped out on his dad because she was supposed to be a virgin. How did she even have him? Like, and the Pharisees were trying to tell Jesus, like, your testimony ain't what it is. Like, your testimony not valid. Like, because they didn't believe that Jesus of Nazareth was the son of man. There's no way you was just living on 154th Street not too long ago. Not trying to be funny, but poor, bum, for real. I'm not saying Jesus was a bum. I don't want to say that, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like you ain't have it like that. This can't be the son of man. What qualifies you or make you son of man? So I'm saying that to say that Jesus came from that. Yeah, he came from the slums. He came from, he came from
Bond Hill.
He came from the projects.
Like,
he came from the less fortunate areas. Yeah. Like, I'm serious. So for him, it's like he don't see no profit in dealing with people who already think they got it together and who already think they rich in their mind. That's what he say. Like, people who like that, they fools for real.
So real quick, what was just because we got to get through the process and this whole journey, what was something that Peter did? I'm sorry, Simon, or Simon and Peter is one of the same. Jesus gave Simon the name Peter, to represent rock, because of the type of individual Simon was. What was something that he did that really betrayed, or
he denied him 3 times.
He denied him 3 times.
I'm sorry if y'all don't know the story. Jesus was telling Peter, like, look, like Simon, Peter, let's stay with one name. Simon is Peter. So if I switch it up, Simon and Peter is the same person. Simon was like I said, I would like to think like a hothead. Like that's the best way I can, like a hothead. Somebody who super passionate, loving, and really cared about Jesus. Like that was his bro. Like for real. And Simon was ready to go to war for Jesus. But Jesus was saying like, chill. Like all this stuff got to play out the way it need to play out because God got things for me to do. And Simon at a point was kind of trying to get in the way of that because of how passionate and hot-headed and caring he was for God. So Simon trying to prove to God, like, look, bro, I got your back. I ain't gonna let nobody do nothing to you. And we can do whatever what needs to be done. And Jesus like, bruh, chill. Like, chill, because I'm trying. You ain't even really like, look, bruh, don't do that, because I already know what type of. I'm telling you right now, like, don't do that. And he's like, what? Like, this how I'm taking it. Like, I got your back. I'm gonna make sure everything. Jesus like, Simon, chill, bro. I'm telling you. You ain't gonna do what you think you gonna do. Simon like, yes, I am. He said, I'm telling you, you're gonna deny me 3 times. You're gonna deny me 3 times. And Simon like, bro, I would never do that. He's like, yes, you are. Watch what I tell you. And when the Pharisees came and they got, Jesus and all that stuff, and they took him to where they was going, and Simon was with them. And they asked Simon outside, like, hey, you with Jesus? And he like, nah. And another situation occurred. They asked him again, like, you with Jesus? He was like, nah, like, I don't know him. Like, and he asked him again, and he was like, no. And then they said the crow, the bird crow or whatever, but what Jesus said was gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And when Simon realized that he denied Jesus 3 times, he was distraught. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it was so much significance in that, because I think sometimes we don't realize that denying Jesus don't always look like what we think it looked like. Mm-hmm. Like for Simon, in that moment, I don't even think he realized that he was denying Jesus. I think he felt like he was just playing his part because he was trying to figure out what was going on with Jesus, and he's like, nah, I ain't with him. But somebody that's really following Jesus and like that's a disciple of Jesus who really walk with him and really my homeboy, like you say you my homeboy, you ain't gonna say you don't know me. You're gonna be willing to take whatever come with it.
Yeah.
But I think denying Jesus looks different for everybody in different circumstances. You get what I'm saying? I feel like denying Jesus could be as simple as you not living up to be who you say you are. So when you go somewhere, somebody's like, oh, you a Christian. You like, yeah, but you ain't really trying to let nobody know that. You don't want to blow your cover. Like, nah, if you my disciple and you my follower, don't deny me in any kind of way. Mm-hmm. So I think it looked different for everybody. When I was reading, I'm like, dang, the denying of Jesus can look like anything. It could be as simple as not walking in your purpose. Yeah. It could be as simple as posting on Instagram to be one way, but behind closed doors, you're crying, you're begging, you're pleading, but you ain't showing up as that on Instagram. You deny Jesus. I feel like it can look so many different ways. So the betrayal thing that Simon did was deny him 3 times, but Jesus knew he was gonna do that.
Yeah. But real quick, it's funny because he was his rock. He was his road dog, one of his first ones that he called to become a disciple. But I think what's dope is, and we'll touch on this quickly, and then we'll go to Judas. I think what's dope is, after the resurrection, Jesus came back and he gave, through all that, through all that, what you would, I guess somebody might call betrayal, however you might feel about it, he still came to Simon, and he provided him the opportunity 3 times to say that he loved him, and he did. So it's like, even though you denied me 3 times in the most, when I needed you the most, I guess, during the most hardest, the toughest moment, after it was all said and done, after he was gone and, in the physical, he came back and gave him the opportunity 3 times to tell him he loved him. So erase that.
I ain't gonna lie, that was a real good observation and something to point out. That's real talk.
So we gonna erase that past. I ain't gonna hold you hostage to it, bro, because you was a man. You ain't. I was Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I know at the end of the day, I know my walk that I was called to walk on. You wasn't called to walk that walk. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm okay. I'm okay with the fact that you denied me. Yeah. I'm okay, bro. Yeah. That was too much for you. Yeah. And I'm perfectly fine with that. But what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you the opportunity 3 times to say you love me. And we good,
I think that's important.
Our table is clean.
I think that's important because that shows, 1, how forgiving God is.
Yeah.
And then 2, like restoration. Mm-hmm. Like he will restore, certain moments and things that was taken away from you in the heat of moment. Mm-hmm. Healing. God's sovereignty and just his love for.
And I think it's another moment of showing, like, bro, you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I was called to walk this walk. Now, granted, you was my disciple, you walk with me, but I am the one who gotta go through this, and I'm able to do this. Like, I'm gonna take these lashes, these whoopings, these beatings, these nails. I'm gonna be the one to do that. I ain't asking for you to be that individual, bro. So don't overstep. Don't feel the need to overstep and again be in your journey 10 times further than what you are on day one.
Yeah.
Take things day by day. But real quick, Judas came in. Was he with him from the beginning?
No, he wasn't. At least that's not like Judas came kind of a little after.
And he was what was his role?
I know that he was really good with negotiating money. Hold on, wait.
Judas was a treasurer.
Was he?
He was a treasurer of he helped take care of the money, the funds. That's
Yes.
what that's what somebody as a treasurer do. You it's your job to make sure this bread is right, bruh.
Yeah, but he was really good with land and negotiating and all the things to
Right.
yes. So that's why I think Jesus brought Judas on to be able to negotiate and with certain things along the way. But Judas was a
Judas
he
was a
treasurer.
Yeah, that's why I say he was a treasurer.
My bad, I didn't listen to you,
Yeah,
but
they need to lead. I need to let me lead. But yeah, he was a treasurer, so that was his job, that was his duty. So he came on. But what's ironic about Judas is, and Judas, I think, in all honesty, is funny though, because I think Judas had a great heart too.
And yeah, Judas, for sure in the beginning. No,
I'm just saying in general.
But I think he was along the way, if I'm not mistaken. Fact check this. Was he stealing along the way too, though?
I mean, yeah.
Because I'm dead serious. I think he did what he was supposed to, but he was still taking some here and there.
Yeah, but again, from my perspective, if I'm Jesus, from just the watch it, I think Judas still had a good. I think Judas' heart was still in the right spot.
Overall,
nigga, people make mistakes. You wrong for thieving and stealing and whatever. Having slimy ways. But again, what's your motive behind it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying it's right. I ain't condoning it. What young boy say? I'm just a lonely child. Who's gonna take me out? Young boy. I like young boy. I do like him. But
which one of the disciples was young boy?
The one that came on there and had the sword and was doing all the him. I forgot what was his name. He had the sword and Jesus had to literally take his sword and throw it into the water.
It was with a Z.
I don't know, but I liked him. I like him a lot too. But Judas, I think his heart was. Just at the end of the day, I think his characteristics of what he was as an individual before he got with Jesus stayed the same. So he like, shoot, bro. And before I got with you, I was about this cheese.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was about making sure my pockets was low key right. I was about making sure the X's, the T's was crossed and the I's was dotted when it came to finances. So when he got into the situation with Jesus and now he followed him and they're struggling and he's seeing areas to where he actually know his skill set can help them out. I don't think he did stuff out of greediness. I think he did it out of, I keep on trying to help this group out. I know I can provide in these areas of help. This is my perspective, but I'm not able to use my works to benefit it like I know I can. So now his who he was as an individual, his manly nature superseded his emotions, and then he started making poor decisions. I don't think that was but I still think he was his heart was in his heart he was a good person.
So you think in the beginning, his heart, he was a good person, but then along the way, when they weren't considering the things that he felt he could do, he could provide, that's what caused him to start being a person who's stealing money out the bag.
Cats get emotional.
Yeah.
Cats get emotional. Men get emotional. And, we all have moments to where out of emotion, we do some stuff to where we like, dang, bro, that was weird. That was creepy. I should not have done that. But does that mean your heart wasn't
probably in that moment?
In that moment because of your emotions.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to knowing like, bro, okay, I'm having a moment. I've been in this emotional state for some months, but how can I live in this moment, know that I'm in an emotional state right now, and still do what I know is supposed to be right, and not be led by my emotions, because we oftentimes emotions have us doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah. I was gonna say what's crazy is that his good heart got him into becoming a disciple, and then his bad heart got him out of being a disciple, if that makes sense. Because with Judas, I think, like you said, and God, Jesus already knew what the plan was, so it was all a part of the plan. But in the Chosen, it showed that Judas was super excited about who Jesus was.
Judas was a rider. That's what I'm saying. His heart was in. It was just the fact that once he started feeling like his skill, I feel like once he started feeling like his attributes of what he could do for the team wasn't being utilized the correct way, and he wasn't used to being like, oh, I'm about to sleep out here with no, like, he was used to his funds being able to take care of certain stuff, and he had the skill to provide. He knew how to get a brick and flip it to two.
So are you saying that and this is
everybody don't know how to make a stretch? If you know what I mean. Everybody don't know how to make it stretch, baby.
No, listen, really quick, because we got to wrap it up here soon.
Judas knew how to make it stretch.
Listen, shut up. Really quick. So, really quick, with Judas, you made my train of thought go away because you playing too much. Judas, it was I thought about to say about
quarter brick, half a brick, whole brick. Hey,
I'm not playing. I'm trying to be serious about I'm trying to be serious. So Judas, bro, now I forgot. Okay, so Judas, when he betrayed Jesus, or whatever, because that's what ultimately the disciple, we wanted to get on that, because you said something about his heart. I said I was gonna, bro, I'm mad because I wanted to correlate it to like everyday life and people with when they're feeling like God is not like allowing them to utilize their gifts in the way they want to utilize their gifts, what it could cause them to become or to do.
Have resentment.
Yes. So that's where I was getting to before you start.
I'm booming. I'm bunking. Causing resentment, because that's what it was. Judas found himself in a spot of I think having a lot of resentment built up towards anger. The group, because again, from my take on it, he wasn't immediately within the inner circle. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So he found himself get through in there. Then y'all not really accepting me to be within the group, but I do have what I feel like is the most important skill for the group, and y'all not realizing. So you know what? Now the resentment is going to get built up.
So it was a lot of resentment and anger towards the whole mission, pretty much. And when he felt like he wasn't being utilized the correct way, that caused his heart to become in a very hardened spot, where he allowed the enemy to be able to plant certain seeds into his mind that caused him to ultimately betray Jesus.
Right.
That's where I was getting to. And like in hood terms, when we talk about your heart posture, when your heart posture is not in the right way and you're not, because even in Chosen, it was times where he should have talked to Jesus and he wanted to, but he kept pushing it off. You don't remember that? Mm-hmm. And he never got the opportunity. But Jesus was like, knowing that he wanted to talk to him about something, but different things kept pulling Jesus' attention away. And Judas never was able to really talk to him about his concerns at the time. You know what I'm saying? And I said that to say, like, a lot of people be mad at God, but they didn't even have that conversation with God to let them know what they want.
Or you be mad at, forget God, you be mad at your friend. Mm-hmm. Your homeboy.
Forget God.
I'm just saying, because in terms of what, you know what I'm saying, in terms of just life, you be mad at your person next to you and you never had a conversation and be like, hey, bro, like, be better than this, bro. Like,
this is how I feel.
This is how I feel. This is how you feel. Let's come to the common ground.
And when you don't do that, you leave your heart open for the enemy to plant seeds to keep saying things to make you have even more resentment, even more anger, even more unforgiveness, even more just whatever it may be, or to cause chaos and confusion and separation ultimately.
And then the real quick, before we wrap it up, Judas his betrayal ended up leading to what?
Him committing suicide, right?
But before that, Jesus, right? Yeah. So he was the one.
He was the one that led the Pharisees to get to arrest Jesus and for him to get crucified.
Yeah, he came to the agreement to where, he met up with the other side and they was like, well, bro, listen, we don't know show us who he is. Here it is. Matter of fact, like the Lion King. When we watched The Lion King and homeboy Scar scratched the rock so that the wolves would know where to follow them at, because you remember they got smart and they started pitting the snow over top of their tracks.
Yeah.
So Judas did the same thing, came kissed Jesus. They said, okay, I know who bro is, snatched him up, and then that's when end all be all happened.
But let's kind of go back to where Jesus set them at the table at the Last Supper and was like, one of y'all gonna betray me.
But let's get to that the next episode. Ooh. Let's get to that the next episode.
So neighborhood discipleship, what is discipleship? Part 2?
Part 2. But homeboy did, and we get to that too, but and that's why I say his heart posture, really, he felt bad because he ended up off in this suicide.
because I would feel bad too, and we can end it here, but I would feel bad too if I walked with you, I seen what you could do, I believed in you, I know you are who you say you are, and I allow my emotions and heart get in the way of your ministry and what it was that you were trying to do, but it was all a part of the plan.
It was all a part of the plan.
I'm not gonna lie, this episode I was super nervous. I think I was kind of like built up, tension up, but I'm grateful because you really held it down. The good thing about this is we don't say that we know it all. We don't try to act like we know it all. We just interpreting the Bible the way that we interpret the Bible. We're so grateful. We're so honored that we were able to have just this moment, this hour with you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We will have a part 2, and let's politic. Leave your comments in the comment section. Follow us, share, and let's discuss. But we're gonna have a part 2. So thank you guys for being here, tuning in with us. We will see y'all again next week on the next episode of Neighborhood Discipleship. Neighborhood Discipleship is new.
We bring in niggistry to ministry. We out. Peace.
That's not how we ended that. We out, y'all. Have a great day.